right, it's time for the news. And this show right here I'm doing for the ladies. Cheers, ladies. Cheers. Anyway, I'm doing this one for the ladies here because all these stories I have are about females, and starting with the untimely death of Nelson Mandela's fearless daughter, ZINDZI Mandela, and she passed away at 59 years of age, and she was a true leader in her own right. ZINDZI Mandela, the daughter of South African anti-apartheid leaders Nelson Mandela and Winnie Mandela, has died. She was 59 years old, and she was born, ZINDZI, born in December 1960. The youngest of Mandela's daughters died at a Johannesburg hospital earlier Monday morning, according to the South African Department of International Relations and Cooperation. The department said it was still gathering information on the cause of her death and expected to release a detailed statement at a later time. According to the Associated Press, ZINDZI came to international fame in the mid-1980s when she read a letter from her famous father rejecting the government's offer to release him from prison if he denounced the violence was carried out by his anti-apartheid movement, the African National Congress. ZINDZI reportedly read the statement at a packed public meeting that was broadcast around the world. Before that, she had released poetry that was published in 1978 in the book Black as I Am, while appearing in publications including Somehow We Survive, an anthology of South African writing, and Daughters of Africa. ZINDZI also studied law at the University of Cape Town, where she earned a bachelor's degree in 1985. More recently, she served as South Africa's ambassador to Denmark since 2015. The Nelson Mandela Foundation issued a statement on ZINDZI's passing, writing, "We have been shocked to wake to the news of the untimely passing of ZINDZI Mandela." That's her whole name, but her nickname is ZINDZI. Was someone we had come to know well and to love. She was our friend. Before adding that their thoughts are with her family and friends. According to a statement, a lot of people were the South African president, Ramaphosa, was deeply saddened by ZINDZI's death. I offer my deep condolences to the Mandela family as we mourn the passing of a fearless political activist who was a leader in our own right, Ramaphosa said. Our sadness is compounded by this loss being visited upon just days before the whole world marks the birthday of the great Nelson Mandela. The Desmond and Leah Tutu Legacy Foundation also released a statement mourning ZINDZI's death, adding that she was regarded by many as a child of the nation. They said that her death means South Africa loses an important generational link connecting our divided history to the promise of better, more inclusive tomorrows. Africa's Foreign Affairs Minister, Pandor, described ZINDZI as a heroine, and ZINDZI will not only be remembered as a daughter of our struggle, heroes Tata Nelson and Mama Winnie Mandela, but as a struggle heroine in her own right, Pandor said in her own statement. She served South Africa well. ZINDZI is survived by her husband and 4 children. So that's got to ring the bell for ZINDZI Mandela. May you rest in paradise. And wow, man, Nelson Mandela's that was his youngest daughter, and she was an activist just like her father. What a sad thing. Okay, and here's another story that, and this is one that, for brothers out there, you gotta get it together, because this story right here is one that all black men should be discussing with your women. And it's about black women often ignored by social justice movements. Black women are often less likely to be associated with the concept of a typical woman and viewed as more similar to black men than to white women, which may lead to some anti-racist and feminist movements failing to advocate for the rights of black women, according to the new research published by the American Psychological Association. Black women are often overlooked in people's conversations about racism and sexism, even though they face a unique combination of both of these forms of discrimination simultaneously. This intersectional invisibility means that movements that are supposed to help black women may be contributing to their marginalization and actually help white women more than they do black women. The research was published online in the APA journal Translational Issues in Psychological Science. The study was conducted online with more than 1,000 participants from the United States who were asked whether 41 positive or negative stereotypical attributes such as hostile, sexual promiscuous, or determined were associated with different races or genders. Participants were told that their responses were not an admission that they believed these stereotypes, so they would answer honestly. Some participants were asked about stereotypical attributes just for men and women, or for black people or white people. Then other groups were asked about the combination of race and gender: black women, black men, white women, white men. The clustering of the responses showed how black women were viewed in relation to other groups. The typical woman was considered to be more similar to white woman than a typical black woman. Black women and black men were also considered to be more similar to each other than white women or white men. The operative word in defining how similar other groups black women are is more black and less woman, according to the journal. The differentiation, let me say that word again, the under-differentiation of black women from black men may help us explain why black women face similar rates of racial disparities in traffic stops and arrests, but anti-racist movements often focus on black men in the fight against police brutality. This is reflected both in terms of the victims of brutality who are highlighted and whose voices receive the most attention. In this moment, we can see how much more attention has been paid to the murders of Arbery and George Floyd than the murder of Breonna Taylor. And that is not, well, that's not true on my page, because I definitely gave Breonna Taylor just as much coverage as I did George Floyd or Ahmaud Arbery. And so anyway, back to the story. Arbery, a 25-year-old black man, was shot dead in February after being chased by 3 white men. And then Breonna Taylor, a 26-year-old black woman who was shot and killed by police in her Louisville, Kentucky apartment in March. And Floyd, a 46-year-old black man who was killed during an arrest in Minneapolis in May. His death set off protests across the country. Previous research has found that blackness is associated with masculinity, leading to errors when categorizing black women's gender or recognizing black women's faces. Other studies have found that black women and girls are more associated with threat and danger than are white women and white girls. Feminist movements that focus only on issues that predominantly affect white women without addressing racialized sexism ignore the needs of black women. I'm going to read that again. Feminist movements that focus only on issues that predominantly affect white women without addressing racialized sexism ignore the needs of black women who face higher rates of police abuses, including sexual violence, Previous research has also found that black women experience much higher rates of domestic and sexual abuse from partners than white women, and black women are less likely to report this violence than white women. Feminist and anti-racist movements should include black women in leadership roles and advocate for the rights of black women. The key often starts with listening to black women about their concerns and what their needs are, and then delivering accordingly. Three out of 4 study participants were white, while 8% were black, 8% were Hispanic, and 5% were Asian. The responses weren't analyzed based on ethnicity or gender of the participants because the study wasn't examining whether the participants endorsed specific stereotypes themselves. Previous research suggests that members of marginalized groups are aware of stereotypes of their groups. Thus, they would likely report the same awareness of stereotypes as would members of other groups. And that's a topic, man, that really needs to be discussed, really needs to be seriously discussed between black men and black women, and so we can create a more balanced, in my opinion, a more balanced approach to the problem. Because if we just have a one-sided approach to the problem of racism, and we just address what's going on with what's going on with men, then the women won't get the justice that they need. So the black women won't get the justice they need. So therefore, we have to come together, and we got to do what we have to do in order to stand together. We got to stand together for something. I mean, leave all the nonsense behind. Black women and men have got to get together on these issues of racism and police abuse, police brutality, and a lot of other issues that we need to basically resolve. But we got to start somewhere, and communication is the only way. We got to lift each other up, lift up sisters, lift up your brothers, lift up your sisters, and try to get together, man, and bring that some kind of stability to the black community and to the black family. We got to start at the black family first, because the black family structure as we know it, as far as I can see, is almost non-existent. I mean, it's almost non-existent, man. So many single family households out there right now where you have black women that are raising their kids on their own, without the help of any man in the house or any males around, period, because of the incarceration rates, because of drug abuse, because of guys that are trying to be women themselves. So hey, this is serious, man. This is really serious. Our very existence is at stake here. The black existence in America specifically is what I'm talking about. Is they're trying to eliminate us. You see the numbers of people, the black people that are dying in the hospitals, and I'm not believing that what they're talking about, black people having pre-existing conditions. I don't believe that bullshit. When you're trying to tell me that all black people have some kind of pre-existing condition, and I think it's because black people are not getting the same or equal treatment that other nationalities of people are getting, and they're letting these black people die on purpose in the hospital. So that's my opinion. You could take it or you can leave it alone. All right. Anyway, that was my op-ed on that. And final story here. We have a black author releases a book to assist parents in starting the conversation on racism and police brutality, and it's called The Talk: A Black Family's Conversation About Racism and Police Brutality by Emma Yalson. And all over the country, parents are having the talk with their kids about racism, stereotyping, and police brutality in the wake of George Floyd's and Breonna Taylor killings and various forms of protests that have ensued. Starting this conversation may feel overwhelming especially as we are collectively stuck in the midst of two pandemics in the United States, COVID-19 and racism. Moreover, there has not been much practical guidance with respect to how to facilitate such a conversation about race. More tangible guidance is especially necessary as Americans balance working from home, home education, safety, health, and the well-being of the nation. Now that guidance is here. African American mother, author, radio host, entrepreneur, and educator, Amma Carrie Yawson, recently released The Talk, a Black Family's Conversation about Racism and Police Brutality. That's the title. With this powerful and uplifting fictional story, Yawson hopes to bring to light the importance of a loving and open dialogue about race conversations with children, which is both educational and interactive. Even though I am a mom, author, attorney, and diversity trainer, I could not bring myself to discuss the George Floyd and Breonna Taylor killings by police immediately after it happened, Yawson says. The grief was too much for me. My steps became heavier as I struggled to personally process the senseless and racially motivated killings of Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and Floyd in such a short period of time. Moreover, the horrendous Central Park incident in which a white woman falsely told police that a black male bird watcher named Charles Christian Cooper was threatening her also left me sickening. I could not stop thinking about the degree of which I and my husband's lives are shaped by racism and stereotyping, and the extent to which our precious children's lives will be shaped by those same negative forces. The only way I felt that I could be empowered was to sit down quietly and write a story which would serve as a resource for black and non-black families to explain police brutality to their kids while offering potentially life-saving advice about what to do in an encounter with the police. I knew that the book had to also affirm African American identity and achievement while exploring what we can do now to eliminate this societal problem. My prayer is that all families will read and feel the both informed and empowered. The book uses poetry. It uses poetry to portray a fictional African American couple's talk with their two children about racism and police brutality after the children stumble upon their parents crying in the living room while watching the coverage of George Floyd's killing at the hands of police officers. The parents then take the opportunity to explain the issues of racism, stereotyping, police brutality, and how to interact with the police while affirming the children's heritage and assuring them that they will achieve greatness despite the obstacles that they may face. The book also includes a curriculum of activities. Although there is no talk that can completely prevent incidents of racism and prejudice for children, African American parents and parents of all races still need to have these conversations with their children so that their children are aware of these challenges and are better prepared for these potential encounters. Now, Yawson's book is available in order to make that conversation easier and more empowering. And telling you, man, this stuff is real. It's the real deal. And we as a people have got to get together, and as black men and black women, and also we have to educate our black children about navigating through this system that has been thrust upon us here. And we got to do what we got to do to create a better system. We got to create a better system for our children, and a better future for our kids and grandkids, and a safe environment for our kids and grandkids. We got to do it. Nobody's going to do it for us, so we got to do it. We got to do it ourselves. Nobody's going to do it for us. So if you're waiting on somebody to fix things for you, you'll be waiting forever, because nobody out there outside of you is going to care. Do got to do.